Morning, dear students. We have already completed some of the lessons and some of the poems of the second PU English, and you have already known that still the classes are continuing through this mode of teaching, and here on this particular day I am going to deal with Romeo and Juliet, the first poem in the second PUC English textbook. Hope that all of you have purchased or you have got the PDF file and you have the textbook with you. Now, Romeo and Juliet is one of the dramas written by William Shakespeare, and in this particular drama the present speech of Juliet with regard to the love, that is the present speech which is by Romeo, not Juliet, by Romeo, and he speaks about the beauty of Juliet. And you know that in the very drama, hoping that some of you have read that drama, because Romeo and Juliet is quite a common phrase. The two noble families are available in Verona. Verona has got a prince also, Aeschylus, and there are two noble families. One of the families named Montague, and it is given in the text also, the introduction, and the other name is Capulet. The Capulets and the Montagues were committed enemies. They are staunch enemies, the very loyal enemies, committed enemies. Romeo and Juliet belong to the rival families. Old Lord Capulet hosted a grand supper. Though Romeo belonged to the family of Montagues, remember that Romeo belonged to the family of Montagues, he attended the supper in disguise to see Rosalind. There comes one of the names, Rosalind. Rosalind is the niece of Capulet. The time when Romeo has been there, he went to the very party, the grand supper, and the very dance program there, and at that time of course he was in disguise to see Rosalind, to whom he was attracted actually, the niece of Capulet. There he sees Juliet, the daughter of Capulet, on the dance floor, and is fascinated by her beauty. After the dance he learns that she is the daughter of Capulet, and now you see what that Romeo speaks about Juliet, and you can understand just by reading the very background which has been given in the text, that there is something, the strong passion, the strong feeling towards Juliet when Romeo speaks of these lines. So he says, when he is very much attracted, very much fascinated by the beauty of Juliet in the place, on the floor of the dance, the supper that was organized and the dance program that was going on there, he understood himself that he was attracted to the beauty of Juliet. So he says in the act first, scene 5th of that drama, "Oh, she doth teach the torches to burn bright, it seems she hangs upon the cheek of night, as a rich jewel in an Ethiop's ear, beauty too rich for use, for earth too dear. So shows a snowy dove, trooping with the crows, as yonder lady over her fellows shows. The measure done, I'll watch her place of stand, and touching hers make blessed my rude hand. Did my heart love till now? forswear it, sight, for I never saw true beauty till this night. As I have given you the description now, the introduction with regard to what has taken place there or what took place there, the time when the supper was organized, and what happened to Romeo. Basically, there was an infatuation towards the beauty, and based on that, this particular speech, these lines have been written, because later he was attracted to the beauty of Juliet. Oh, she doth teach the torches to burn bright. So, all of a sudden when he saw the beauty of Juliet, he started decorating through words, ornamenting, decorating and expressing. Of course, we know that Shakespeare does this work. He wants to eulogize, he wants to praise the beauty of Juliet. She doth teach the torches to burn bright. Doth in the sense in the Shakespearean English, especially 16th century, 17th century till 17th, 15th and 16th century writers use this word doth in the sense does. Oh, she doth teach the torches to burn bright. So, Juliet has been compared to a torch. Juliet has been compared to a torch. She doth teach means she teaches the torches to burn bright. It is the night time, and night in the sense it has to be illuminated by light. And here, though light is available there, even without light, it is possible the very darkness can be brightened, be illuminated, and this whole topic, the whole poem oscillates between darkness and brightness, because the supper, the grand supper was hosted by Capulet at night, and there was the dance program, and the total darkness can be illuminated by the beauty of Juliet, and Juliet has been compared to a torch or the torches. She doth teach the torches to burn bright. The very beauty of Juliet is such a one, very powerful one, very powerful light to which it has been compared, the beauty has been compared, and that is why he says, of course, we have to understand, as I have said just now, that Shakespeare does this through Romeo, and that is why here and there when I say Romeo, it is of course Shakespeare, the writer, the playwright, the poet also, and that also you have to keep in mind. She teaches the torches to burn bright, and the very brightness or the very light of torch is nothing in front of the beauty of Juliet, and the beauty of Juliet is more bright, and that is emanated from her beauty, and that brightens the whole night, the very particular place where the dance has been organized or was organized to burn bright. And there is an exclamation mark also. It seems she all hangs upon the cheek of night as a rich jewel in an Ethiope's ear. And once again furthermore descriptions. So, first is that she has been compared to a torch. Teach the torches, the metaphor has been used there. She is a torch, and that torch brightens the whole night. It seems she hangs upon the cheek of night as a rich jewel in an Ethiope's ear. And Ethiop in the sense an African, which is of course given in the text once again, an African, Ethiop. And Africans, you know that they are black people, and of course black, when I say, the British, the Europeans have said that we are also black people, but here this is particularly related to African. It seems she hangs upon the cheek of night. She, reference to Juliet, hangs upon the cheek of night, and naturally if she is compared to a torch, if she is a torch, naturally the night can be illuminated. It seems, it appears, she hangs upon the cheek of night as a rich jewel in an Ethiope's ear. If Juliet is a torch and hangs upon the cheek of night, what we can understand is that it is, of course, the night has been illuminated. One first is that she is a torch, so burning bright, and she illuminates the very area, and the darkness is not at all available there, and the darkness has been made bright. Second line, it seems she hangs upon the cheek of night as a rich jewel. So, the description continues in the next line also. It seems, it appears, she hangs upon the cheek of night as a rich jewel. So, cheek of night, of course, this is also black, dull, darkness. Ethiope's ear, that is also very dark, an African who is dark. So, it seems she hangs upon the cheek of night as a rich jewel. So, rich jewel, because this particular person, an African person in the sense, in an Ethiope's ear, in an African's ear, in the sense that when something has been placed on the background that is dark, naturally what is bright, that is more visible there. If the background is dark, and if you place on the dark background white or something bright, naturally that is more concentrated by the people who observe, and we can understand that very in simple terms. As a rich jewel in an Ethiope's ear, it seems she hangs upon the cheek of night as a rich jewel in an Ethiope's ear. It appears she hangs upon the cheek of night, so that what we have to understand is that night is brightened, and as a rich jewel in an Ethiope's ear, so that ear, that human being has also been brightened, and the individual is very much sparkling, shining, because of the rich jewel to which Juliet has been compared. So, you can understand that she has been a torch, she has been a rich jewel on an Ethiope's ear, and the area is very much brightened, and even the individual is also very much sparkling, shining, because she is a rich jewel. She hangs upon the cheek of night, where bright, it is made bright, and on an Ethiope's or in an Ethiope's ear, there also, because she is a rich jewel, very bright appearance is available there. Beauty too rich for use, for earth too dear. So, when he comes to these two metaphors, Shakespeare tells we people, and through Romeo it has been expressed, beauty too rich for use. So, you next one of the lessons, too dear is available, too dear in the sense it is very expensive, costly. So, in the same manner here also, beauty too rich for use. It is not at all possible for the earth to uphold, to control this sort of a beauty, too rich for use, in the sense the earth has got par excellent beauty, the very pinnacle of glory here, glory of beauty, and beauty too rich for use. It is very difficult for any particular person, if you think from the point of Juliet and Romeo here, that is Romeo, beauty too rich for use. This is a par excellent beauty, and such a beauty cannot be borne by the earth. Beauty too rich for use, for earth too dear. Too dear in the sense expensive. Means very costly. Priceless can also be said here. It is very highly invaluable, priceless. You cannot rate it, you cannot value that beauty. How do you express that beauty? You cannot express, you have to enjoy, you have to understand based on your feelings, emotions. Beauty too rich for use. The earth is not able to control this beauty, because Romeo is such a beautiful character, individual. Because, for means because earth too dear, it is very expensive, it is priceless, it is highly invaluable, and such a beauty cannot be was such a beauty is not seen by Romeo so far, and such a beauty cannot be controlled, cannot be withheld by human beings, by earth also. So shows a snowy dove trooping with the crows, as yonder lady over her fellows shows. So shows a snowy dove. Once again another comparison is made, that she is a snowy dove. She is very beautiful, she is very good. She is compared to a snowy dove, and dove is in the snowy dove, that is why white colored. White colored. So shows a snowy dove trooping with the crows, trooping, grouping. With the crows, crows means other dancers. Other dancers. So among the dancers who are available, the more beautiful is Juliet. And Juliet so shows a snowy dove trooping with the crows. The other dancers are nothing in front of Juliet, because Juliet is very beautiful, very colorful, and she is a rich jewel, she is a torch, and such a beautiful lady. When she dances with the other dancers, other dancers are compared to crows, trooping with the crows. So she is grouping with the other dancers, and the other dancers are made more beautiful because she is a snowy dove. She is white colored and fresh, and she actually decorates, she actually brightens the other dancers' beauty, and other dancers are nothing in front of Juliet, as yonder lady over her fellow shows. And because yonder meaning over there, it is given in the glossary over there, as yonder lady over her fellow shows. So shows, and continuation of the thought that continues. So shows a snowy dove trooping with the crows, as yonder lady over her fellow shows. Over her fellows, the other dancers, shows over there, this lady, as yonder lady over her fellows, yonder lady over there, the very bright, beautiful Juliet is available, yonder lady over her fellows, the other dancers. Once again, as yonder lady over her fellow shows. So shows a snowy dove trooping with the crows, as over there lady over her fellows, her members, her group members, her other dancer shows. How does she show? How does she appear? The appearance of very Juliet among the other dancers, or along with the other dancers, is such that she is white colored and grouping with the very dancers who are dull, because she is more bright. She is very beautiful, she is more beautiful, and that is why the others are dull. The measure done, measure means dance. Once again, this is also given in the glossary, because these are all Shakespearean terminologies. The measure done, when the dance is over, done means is over, dance is over. When the dance is over, I will watch her place of stand, and touching hers make blessed my rude hand. The measure done. So he compares Juliet to torches, to rich jewel, to snowy dove, and the other dancers are crows, dull. And now when the dance is over, I will watch her place of stand. I will go the place where she has danced, and I will touch her, and touching hers, what? Her hand, hers means her hand, and touching hers make blessed my rude hand. I will be purified or purged of all the sins that I have committed. Blessed my rude hand, here he says rude hand, because he commits the sin of touching the very pure love, the pure beautiful lady, and touching hers make blessed my rude hand. Rude, he has used the word, Shakespeare has used the word rude because Romeo is in love with Rosalind. Now, when he has seen that, when he has seen Juliet in the grand supper on the place where the dance is taking place, he has understood that she is more beautiful, and that is why it is also a sin that he has committed, a mistake that he has committed, and that is why he has said, make blessed my rude hand. I will touch the hand of Juliet, and thereby I am committing the sin, I am committing a mistake because I am rather impure, probably the notion that he has. And we have understood that she is very beautiful and very bright, and she is committing a mistake there. My rude hand. Did my heart love till now? So he introspects, he questions himself, did my heart love till now? Forswear it, forgive it. If at all, did my heart love till now, in the sense, did I love anybody wholeheartedly or without any biased feelings, or only one individual? Did my heart love till now, in the sense, he introspects, he questions himself and asks a question that, have I ever loved anybody truly, or did I love anybody truly? He questions himself. Forgive it, forswear it, in the sense, forgive it. Deny my eyes, he says. Forswear, it is not given in the glossary, but forswear in the sense, forgive it. And then sight, eyesight. Deny my eyesight. Eyes means deny my eyesight, forget about it, forgive me. Forswear it, sight, my eyesight, please forgive it, because for I never saw true beauty till this night. So, forswear it, sight, because, for means because, I never saw true beauty till this night. I haven't seen, or I did not see true beauty till this night, and that could be a mistake, and that could be the reason that he fortunately or unfortunately fell in love with Rosalind, and that did not continue probably, and as a result of that he made this particular statement in the last two lines, did my heart love till now, forswear it, sight, for I never saw true beauty till this night. And the time when he saw Juliet, he understood that she is actually the true beautiful lady, the girl, and she is the real one, I mean the real beautiful one, and that he understood, and that made him to make this particular statement, or he put forward this question, did my heart love till now? And he got the answer, forgive it, forget and forgive such activities that he had done, and the reason he had given, because I never saw true beauty till this night. Till this night I did not understand what is really beautiful, what is really truly beautiful, and now I have understood, and that is why I have to understand hereafter, and I have to do what that is related to the real beautiful lady and the true beautiful lady and Juliet, who is very, very beautiful, and I should not go wrong in the case of love. I should not deviate from love. I should not think of another girl, and that he has understood here at last. So, this is the first part of the poem where Romeo speaks of Juliet's beauty, which you have to understand. Thank you.